Hello, hello, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for July 10th, 2024 at Season 3, Episode 192. I am Mayor Watt, and that is the Sentient AI.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Welcome to Non Sequitur News.
You thought I was going to keep on talking, but so today we've got 10 articles. The first article we're going to be talking about, these are the titles that I'm giving it. Or giving them, all 10 of the articles. Sam Strike, am I right? Quaker Oat salmonella flavor for years? Petificates at Queen's graduation? I'm confused. We'll find out. San Diego Comic-Con price gouging? These are all questions, by the way. You can answer them when we're done talking about it. Still with the faulty airbags? How did inert grenades end up in a bag? I can't read. 700 domains and nobody knows who. Why give away $1.6 million before closing? What's the difference between net zero and true zero? And can you speed up Hocus Pocus 3? That and more. Oh no. All right, folks. Well, welcome to the show. One thing is disconnected, so we'll see if this all works. All right, folks. If you want to get the show notes, you hit !NSN, just like always. That'll pull up all of the articles for today's show. If you want to get the podcast, you can hit !pod. I've confirmed that all of the podcasts are on various non-Apple podcatchers, so you can catch Pod however you want to catch Pod. Feel free to go and check it all out. In the meantime, if you want to get all of the show notes, you can hit !show notes, and that'll pull up all 7 of the articles, or 7 of the show note options. So we have 7 podcasts. They're all distributed via YouTube, and we simulcast on Twitch, but Twitch always deletes the 61st day. So everything is a podcast as well. So it's long-term storage over on YouTube. You can watch the VOD over there. And then if you want to listen to it, just download as an audio file. You can download the podcast wherever you catch Pod. Anyway, let's get into today's articles. Got them all set up. We could feasibly do this really quick. It really depends on conversation. So let's see how we do. The very first article is over in the mobile channel. Samsung workers are on strike indefinitely. Samsung Electronics' largest union in South Korea announced it would start an indefinite strike on Wednesday after a previous 3-day walkout failed to secure workplace gains its members were fighting for. Let's see. 31,000 Samsung workers.
Gains, but I guess she said gains.
Gains, yep. They want some benefits. So Ben Kesslin over at Quartz or QZ.com put the article together. A union of 31,000 Samsung workers announced the strike on Wednesday. What just happened? That was weird.
That was weird.
Okay. Anyway, not to get distracted, but anyway. The National Samsung Electronics Union said that its union of 31,000 members was striking after 6,000 of its members, who largely work in the semiconductor division, went on strike earlier in the week. CNN reported NSEU workers, who comprise about a quarter of the company's workforce, were calling for better pay and bonuses and improved working conditions. So Samsung, it says, the union said Samsung will regret not coming to the bargaining table. Ouch.
Well, I suppose it doesn't get much better if one of the parties doesn't come to the table.
Yep. Samsung expects its quarter operation to rise more than 1,450% year over year thanks to an AI boom, and reported a tenfold jump in profits for the first 3 months of 2024. But workers say they aren't seeing that success translate into pay. No shit. Yeah.
This sounds like a familiar pattern.
That's just not how it works, right? More work gets given to the workers because more tools that speed up efficiency and effectiveness, even reliability, etc., get brought to bear. And instead of a person being assigned 40 hours worth of work, they're assigned more work because you can do more in a supposed 40-hour work week.
Right, and I wonder if they're training robots or something to do their jobs.
Yep, eventually. Entirely. Well, there you go. Now, striking is going to become an international effort. Let's keep going. The next article is over in the Model Channel. A Quaker Oats facility might have had salmonella contamination for years, according to the FDA. Salmonella may have been present over the past 4 years in an Illinois factory that was responsible for a major recall of Quaker Oats products last year, the FDA revealed in a warning letter sent to Quaker Oats parent company PepsiCo in June. So it may have been present for 4 years.
That's a long time in food production.
Yep. The article is over at QZ.com again. Bruce Gill is the author, and the deck statement says the contamination led to a recall late last year, but the problem might go back to 2020. And they notified Quaker Oats / PepsiCo. Quaker Oats said in April it planned to shutter the factory and lay off hundreds of employees. Don't fix the problem, delete it. The company initially issued a recall of millions of granola bar and cereal products in December. We actually talked about it here in ohmTown.
Yeah, we did.
Workers at the factory found... Oh, and I even said the same thing that I just got done saying, which was instead of fixing the problem, they delete it, which means that now production is even more constrained, and thus prices are going to go up, availability is going to be down, driving prices up artificially, because they could spin this up and have a smaller margin by a small amount, but that's not what they're doing. So a few days later, FDA inspectors found salmonella in a crack on the floor of the factory. Quaker Oats then acknowledged that it had detected the same strain of salmonella at the factory since at least 2020. So they knew about it.
You know, there's a lot of things that get ignored, but contamination for food.
Yeah, food safety is apparently a struggle. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over on the Model Channel. Petificates, it's hard to say that. Handed out at Queen's graduation ceremony. Queen's University Belfast has become the first in the UK to recognize the support role of pets in educational attainment. So RTE.IE put the article together. I
don't even know what to make of this.
Oh my goodness.
I don't even think like family members are recognized for their role.
No. Study buddies were recognized at the ceremony, which took place at Queen's University Belfast. So Queen's has asserted the gesture is based on research that shows the important degree of support animals can provide as study buddies. Cats, dogs, and apparently a hamster took to the red carpet for the unofficial and informal ceremony at the university's famous Lanyon buildings last night, accepting the honorary dog turret certificate in either political sciences, architecture, forensic pathology, or barketing.
Wow.
Yeah, so they were recognized for their supporting roles with their humans at the time at Queen's. So there you go. Rico, I don't know what kind of dog this is. It looks like a terrier of some kind. Maybe. I don't know. Rico proved a great support to Michael Murphy during his studies. And there's a quote here that says, "I'm delighted to see Rico and the support he gave me throughout my studies being recognized and celebrated by the university, and it's exciting to be part of history at the UK's first pet graduation ceremony of its kind."
Okay, this is too funny. I like this though. This is something fun that
Yeah, it's fun and harmless.
probably got a lot of goodwill.
Yep, for sure. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in Wanted. It's a channel over at ohmTown.com, but it's also a show here where we talk about gadgets and gear. I'm really not sure why that screen flashed. That's a first. Anyway, SDCC's nightmare hotel situation could push Comic-Con out of San Diego. A new report claims that San Diego hotels are gouging prices during the annual pop culture event. Well, it's business 101, folks. There's money to be had, and not a soul in sight. Jermaine Lucier is the author over at Gizmodo.com. The deck statement says a new report claims San Diego hotels are gouging prices during the annual pop culture event. I can't imagine.
They're probably gauging first and then gouging.
They're gauging how much they can charge and then gouging because they don't give a shit. They just want to take your money. So it's supply and demand. And as more stuff becomes popular and less availability of hotels that match the budgetary constraint of Comic-Con goers, they'll raise the rates. And those who can't afford it will have to go somewhere else. And if all of the hotels work together, which for all intents and purposes, they look at each other and go, well, that one's charging more. I can charge more. And as long as they don't hit some type of a bulk rate or a point wherein customers fail to move the shopping cart contents to an actual purchase, i.e. close the deal, it doesn't matter to the hotel. They don't care. Just keep on buying. You will. It's almost the Reddit adage, you'll be back. And most will. Most will pay until it hurts, and even then some. Speaking to Forbes.com, unless you want to say something, feel free to jump in.
I mean, it seems like, as far as I know, this has always been located in San Diego. And it's just, this should be a way to positively impress people with the city, and this just seems kind of contrary to what they might want to do.
Apparently there's some balkanization of the Comic-Cons, by the way. There used to be a whole bunch of Comic-Cons, and now there's only a select few that are actually going to be allowed to be referred to as Comic-Cons. San Diego is one of them, but it might get pushed out if the people who go say, I'm tired of this. It's basically going to take a customer-based union en masse to say we're not going to go to Comic-Con.
Right, but we know people aren't going to balk at that, right?
Correct.
Like, it's too much of a draw.
Yeah. Yep, there isn't enough friction here. So here's an example they post over at Gizmodo. Comic-Con is currently 2 weeks away, and you'd assume all the hotels would be completely sold out. Well, as of 9 a.m. on Wednesday, July 10th, a search for a one-person hotel room from July 24th to July 28th didn't turn up many results, but it did turn up some. And if you book today, rates in the immediate downtown area range from $548 a night to $1,184 a night. That higher number is at the Hilton San Diego Gaslamp Quarter, which it says during the lottery charges only $326 per night. I'm not sure what that means. The most expensive hotel in the entire lottery is $420 per night. I guess that's for the Comic-Con entrance options.
Right. I mean, that's very high. I mean, even a city like New York probably charges less than that.
If attendees opt not to come because they can't afford to stay at a hotel here, they'll go to another convention, Glanzer says. And if that starts to happen, the studios won't be able to make as big an impact, and it becomes a downward spiral that no one wants to go down. If we can't accommodate the people who want to attend the show, then we're in a pretty bad situation. Well, the hotels don't care. They want to maximize profits, and the only way to do that is to keep on raising prices because the cost of various other inputs are going up. The suppliers are raising the rates because there's money to be had, and so all of the steps on the ladder get higher, so to speak. So,
I think the fact that the lease is ending next year is going to be interesting.
yeah, if they suspect that it's going to decline because people won't go because the rates are too high for hotel rooms, they see a decline this year. If they see a decline this year in engagement, they may not opt to renew the lease and go find something else. But doing that within a year is dangerous. So
Especially since I think convention centers get booked pretty far in advance, and this isn't something that could be held everywhere, right? It probably I assume it draws thousands of people.
Yep. Yeah, quite a few people. They don't have the numbers in here, but I can't remember what the last time I looked at anything having to do with Comic-Con. I don't remember the numbers, but it is significant. So I don't know when this was. They have a picture of the line for Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con, but I don't know what year that was. Because this is July 24th to July 28th this year. So it's
maybe last year's.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going. I've never been to a Comic-Con. I can't recall going to a Comic-Con. Anyway, let's keep going. The next article is over in 4-Wheel Tech. BMW recalls nearly 400,000 U.S. vehicles for faulty airbags. NHTSA warns on using replacements. BMW of North America is recalling about 400,000 vehicles in the U.S. over concerns that airbags might explode during deployment. And the NHTSA is warning consumers about replacing those airbags with quote-unquote replacement airbags.
Okay, so is this from the original problems with the Takata airbags, and now the replacements are at issue?
They might actually contain Takata airbag inflators as a replacement part, which could explode during deployment and cause injuries. Again, this is over at Automotive News, and I suffer from the fact that I never log in before the show. So I may seek some other option for this. Anyway, but it's the 21st century, and we're still trying to solve this Takata airbag BS. Why isn't this fixed? Why are they even allowed to produce anything into the supply chain until all of these are replaced with reliable? And by reliable, I mean they should be testing like 10% of every inflator now, making sure that nothing happens, just randomly pulling them out of the assembly line. Have somebody from oversight. Takata has to start paying for it. You know, this is impacting some random person, and I don't want to be that random person. I don't want anybody I know to be that random person, and I don't want anybody I don't know to be that random person.
Well, that's very conscientious of you.
This is just, yeah, well, thanks. Having the ability, concerns that airbags might explode during deployment is just absurd to me that it's even allowed. All right, let's keep going though. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Inert grenades found in a bag at Hawaii airport cause evacuation. Operations at Hawaii's Hilo International Airport were halted when security screeners spotted 2 items that looked like grenades in a bag belonging to a man from Japan.
Okay, now wait a second. Does that mean that person flew into Hawaii with this?
I do not know. So operations at the airport were halted, and screeners had seen these two items. Officers evacuated the terminal area Tuesday morning, while a bomb squad determined that grenades were inert. Police arrested a 41-year-old man from Kanazawa, Japan, on suspicion of first-degree terroristic threatening. He was taken to an East Hawaii detention facility and then released pending investigation. So you're not even allowed to take replicas of explosives, hand grenades in a checked or carried on luggage. And even certain things that are allowed have to be checked through a special process. You can't just throw them in your bag and walk in. This is a really dipshitty thing. So how did this end up? I mean, these look like retail tags wrapped around the pins. They could just
What do you bet they were bought in airport gift shops?
Oh, that would be wacky. That would be really wacky. Yeah, they obviously this went up and down pretty fast, so they shut down for an hour and brought back online. But they look like toys from here.
They do, but if somebody was holding them in the air, right, from across the room, maybe they wouldn't.
Yeah, it's a Star Wars thermal detonator. Just step back, just do whatever you need to do. Okay, let's keep going.
All I'm trying to do is get through the security line before my flight.
Yeah, as fast as possible. Just, you know what? We're going to
clear the crowd already.
We're going to put a pin in this, right? Yeah, really. It's like during COVID, right? One sneeze and I'm at the front of the line. Who knew?
Exactly.
Okay, let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. Ticket heist fraud. The gang uses 700 domains to sell fake Olympics tickets. Large-scale fraud campaign with over 700 domain names is likely targeting Russian-speaking users looking to purchase tickets for the Summer Olympics in Paris.
Isn't that fairly niche? Think about all the people trying to go to the Olympics.
How does somebody spin up 700 domains and then have e-commerce options or something that facilitates the attainment of credit card information for fraud, and then nobody realizes that there's 700 domains funneling all talking about Olympics all of a sudden, and it's selling it into the Russian customer base. I just, why would you go to some random domain?
Well, yeah.
So bleepingcomputer.com is the source of this. I don't know how to pronounce their name. I think their name is Ionet Iscu, but I may be wrong. Anyway, researchers analyzing the campaign are calling it ticket heist and found that some of the domains were created in 2022 and the threat actor kept registering on average 20 new ones every month. Overpriced fake Olympic Games tickets, but they were available, so people might fall for it. Right? In late 2023, researchers at threat intelligence company Quo Intelligence noticed increased conversation about the Olympic Games in Paris, scheduled to start this July 26th, because the event was or has always been used for geopolitical influence. An International Olympic Committee decision to ban Russia and Belarusian athletes' participation under their country flag. Researchers kept monitoring the topic and looked for suspicious activity online. That's what I was talking about. So somebody noticed it, right? How do regular people not notice, like, hey, I'm going to try and get tickets. Where are you getting tickets? I'm getting them from this domain. Well, I did a search and there's 708 domains selling.
Exactly. And also, like, if it's not on whatever it is, Olympics.com or something, like, it's not going to say the official site. And if it's cheaper, well, I don't know, maybe it was higher price, but I don't know. It seems like anybody buying tickets online should be able to realize that, hey, this is not a legitimate site.
And why go to ticket-paris24.com? It just sounds hinky. And they were like legit sites. The user interaction that the ticket heist operators created for visitors appears legitimate and encourages engagement with the site and ticket selection. I mean, it looks pretty damn legit.
Actually, that looks a lot like the original site, because I've seen the original site and I think that's the same iconography, if I'm not mistaken.
Interesting. Yeah, so apart from the design of the websites, what stands out in the scheme is the price of the fake tickets offered. Quo Intelligence notes that the prices are inflated compared to the legitimate ones. Except if they're available to a person, then they go, oh, okay, that's the juice for the squeeze. It's fine. I'll pay it as long as I get them. Because when they go to the regular site, they can't get it. Right?
Right, because they're legitimately sold out or limited or whatever.
Correct. And these could be scalping. But they don't look at that. They just want the tickets, right? They don't care where it comes from. They just want the tickets. So alternatively, a higher price could also make victims believe that it's a scalping operation that takes advantage of the shortage of tickets, which is what we're saying right now. They found that all transactions are carried out through the Stripe payment processing platform, and the money is transferred only when the card has sufficient funds. So it's actually using a legit payment gateway.
So it just wants the money.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's all.
As far as we know. Yeah.
But the problem, though, is that it's a legit payment processing platform. So when people go to it, they go, oh, well, it's a legit payment processing platform. But there should be some accountability. How is this all being processed?
Well, and probably nobody would know to make complaints until after the Olympics were held.
Yep. Furthermore, well, at least not until the 26th, and then the people disappear, right? This means that the operator's goal is not to collect credit card information, but to steal money from the victim. So all they want is the actual cash, not the credit card information.
This is a long con, right? This is 3 years in the making.
Yep. Yeah, they basically just say VIP Event Team LLC, which was created on November 26, 2021, and is still active, but its website has never been indexed by public search engines. They basically say that it's legit, right? But it's not. 708 domains registered to push transactions through Stripe to obtain cash. Yeah.
Don't you think Stripe would have said, all this is coming from the same IP address?
See, but it may not actually be. Did it say it was all the same? It was the same. It's all, yeah, there we go. Analyzing the infrastructure.
Which I was surprised by.
And discovered that all of the fraudulent domains were hosted at the same IP address. So how did they find out that? Well, they don't actually say. Obviously, this is not 100% evidence that the intent is to target Russian-speaking individuals, but a lot of indicators and findings are pointing in that direction. But none.
So it was in sponsored search engine results, so that's interesting.
Wait, say that again?
There was, it was promoted. It was a sponsored search engine result, and then it said that there was a complaint on Reddit. I don't know if that got investigators' attention.
Gotcha. On Reddit, a user complained of being scammed after trying to buy a ticket from paris24tickets.com. It's not unheard of to get a whole bunch of different domains that are confusingly similar so that it points to the one that somebody might mistype, right? Or I should say, it points to the legit site from the one that somebody might mistype. Like, I always use Reddit because Reddit gets talked about quite a bit. Like using 2 T's in Reddit. Or REEDIT or whatever, some misspelling. So the typo squatting is what it's referred to as, but it's not typo squatting if you're the owner of the legit site and you're pointing all of the typos to the legit site. So how do they actually know that it's an illegal operation in that they're not actually selling tickets.
Right, because they haven't had the event yet, so how do people know that they've been scammed?
Yeah, and it's I didn't read anything in here that the Olympic Games site itself is the only venue by which you're allowed to make purchases.
Right, I mean, in concept, there could be resellers, assuming there's not some sort of prohibition on transfer of the tickets.
Right. That'll be interesting. I don't know. Maybe we can look into that.
Okay, how many tickets do you think they sold? I don't think it said.
No, I don't think it said, because only one person publicly complained.
So, for example, if they sold whatever 10,000 or something, are all those people going to show up at the Olympics thinking they're getting in?
Yes.
Perhaps from outside the country. This is going to be a mess trying to unwind.
Yeah, they're going to fly into Paris. Yeah. All right. So the next article is over in the Mobile Channel. A Las Vegas casino has to give away $1.6 million before it closes. The Mirage, a classic Las Vegas casino and hotel, is running a 6-day promotion that will pay out $1.6 million before it closes next week. I find this really interesting that they can pay out $1.6 million and it's part of a whole process. So the odds have been shifted or something. I mean, if they're still playing games. Bruce Gill over at QZ.com put this article together.
I think that there are guaranteed payouts, so I think that's the difference, and it's in a short time frame.
So the Mirage Hotel and Casino was bought by Hard Rock International in 2023, and it's already closing down. What a trip. So it closes next week, and they have to ditch 1.6 million. I find it interesting though. The Polynesian themed casino was the Las Vegas Strip's first ever mega resort when it opened in 1989 and was home to Siegfried and Roy's Magic Show, which ran for 14 years. The storied casino is now set to close its doors 35 years later on July 17th, but before it ceases operation, the casino is required by law to give away 1.6 million. It requires the casinos that are closing to pay out any money that it has acquired from progressive jackpot games, since most of the money was made from gamblers' losses. I don't get that.
I don't really either, but I can't think of another time when a casino has closed. I mean, that's not a regular occurrence.
Why?
Basically, the people threw all the money in. I mean, but any other business that closed wouldn't be required to pay it out to customers, so it's pretty fascinating.
I thought part of the generation of revenue at a casino are the slots and the tables. Why would the slots?
I think it's just the progressive ones. I don't think it's all of them, but
right, because
that is really like you pay in and a person gets a payout. It's a little different than just like you have a chance.
See, but that's not even true. There is a chance that somebody will win it. It's not a guarantee that somebody will win the progressive.
True, but somebody has to win the progressive. The slot machine, nobody has to win it.
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know the law on this. And I'm sure that every state that has progressive jackpot games has some subtle nuance to it. And in this case, 1.6 million is probably nothing in the grand scheme of all of the losses that people have earned. The casino is promising to pay out $200,000 in guaranteed winnings to people who play progressive slots on July 9th, 10th, and 11th. It will increase the revenue, the guaranteed winnings to $250,000 on July 12th and 13th, and finally, the casino's guaranteeing $100,000 in winnings on July 16th. So now is the time, but that means that they've changed the ratio so that they're paying out more now than they ever did before.
Which should be a red flag for going on a normal day to any casino.
Right. Yeah, so the drawings will start every day at the promotion of the promotion from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. So it's only a 4-hour window during the time frame. And you'll
Yeah, but
be
that's pretty attractive if you're close to Las Vegas. Go spend $5 or something and take a good chance.
Players will need to be playing on a slot machine within 2 minutes of each drawing for a chance to win. So it's not incremental winnings, it's somebody's going to get $200,000? Or there's just going to be a whole bunch of little payments?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, if you add up the 1.6 million and you take off the table games, I think it's like that much per day that they list up in that paragraph above.
Yeah, and then even they talk about it again, that the casino's also launching a promo to give away $400,000 to table game players, and to qualify, players must play a progressive table game like Texas Hold'em, Blackjack, Baccarat, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. on July 12th and 13th. I mean, just give somebody $1.6 million and call it a day, for crying out loud. You know what I'm saying?
Right, just do a drawing of people who come through the door on one day or something.
It's so convoluted. You're freaking closing. It's not like you're supposed to be drawing attention.
But you're probably racking up all kinds of revenue on the non-progressive.
So they're going to pivot from the Mirage Hotel and Casino to the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino and the Guitar Hotel Las Vegas, a 700-foot guitar-shaped hotel. So kitschy, stupid, but I was in another stream today. I was actually in Bold Zebra's stream today, having a conversation, and they were talking about something, and I said, "Yeah, we talked about that over in ohmTown." And they said, and I said, we're probably not going to get any sponsors. And Bald Zebra said, "Yeah, you tell it exactly how it is, and that's just not going to work, And I'm like, oh God, yeah, I guess word is getting out. I think it was Bald Zebra. It might have been Dunkstar. Anyway. Okay, folks, the next article, we only have 2 more articles. This next article is one that's over in the Hatch Ideas channel, which is all about business transformation, intellectual property development, etc. This cement startup says it goes beyond net zero to true zero carbon emissions. Sublime Systems uses chemicals instead of heat and other minerals instead of limestone. So apparently they use chemicals instead of heat and other minerals instead of limestone, and this article's summary is oddly shaped. But the reason why I'm talking about this is because I've got a product that I want to bring to market, but I want it to be zero carbon emissions and not net zero, because the difference is net zero means that you are offsetting whatever it is that you're inputting.
Right, which that's better than doing nothing, but it's not the same as other scenarios.
And this product says that it's true zero carbon emissions because, as Diana Olick over at CNBC.com writes, they use chemicals instead of heat and other minerals instead of limestone. As with other new technologies, it's more expensive, but climate-forward companies like WS Development in Boston seem willing to pay more for the cement. Now, here's the weird thing about this. Yesterday, we were talking about it as part of a product that I've got in development that we've been really debating.
Outside of the show.
Yeah, outside of the show. Didn't even know that this came into ohmTown at the time. Not until today did we see the article. And we didn't read the article, but we knew what it was because it's basically titled, "The Cement Startup Says It Goes Beyond Net Zero to True Zero Carbon Emissions." In my particular product, would be using this kind of stuff. So Sublime recently received an $87 million award from the U.S. Department of Energy that would cover half the cost of its first commercial plant. And so, yeah, cement companies are transforming the $410 billion industry with carbon-free cement. And one of the problems with cement is that it is a huge CO2 off-gasser, and it's always giving off CO2. And what ends up happening is some companies step into the ring by saying, well, we'll plant a tree for every, square foot. Well, that's net zero, maybe, not true zero. So now the race is to decarbonize the $410 billion global cement industry. Scientists are creating new ways to produce it, and startups like Brimstone, Forterra, and the Massachusetts-based Sublime Systems are putting those new methods to work. And I think the emphasis here in the Sublime Systems is Sublime Systems, because they're not using lime. They're substituting lime.
Right, I see. Yeah.
So I have been calling it Sublime, but it might be Sublime. Then again, they may be calling it exactly Sublime. I mean, it's kind of pithy to just say that. Our process doesn't emit CO2, it says. It avoids all CO2 emissions, both from the fossil fuel and from the limestone. Yeah, but it's a chemical. So what's the chemical source? By decomposing minerals at ambient temperature using electrochemistry. So they use electricity, but the electricity comes from somewhere. It's not necessarily true zero unless they're using solar. And even then, the solar panels have exotic chemicals in it that actually are destructive or toxic when they're exposed. Anyway, that's what makes us true zero as opposed to net zero. So they're not using calcium for cement that aren't limestone, and that's what makes them.
I didn't even know you could make this without CO2 emissions until this article.
And they've got the chemistry right. So as long as it actually, see, the bigger issue here is, does it meet the structural demands necessary? So cement that only supports itself is insulative, not constructive. You can't put a big floor on top of cement that can only hold its own weight, right? That's the problem with hempcrete. Hempcrete can't.
That's right.
It can't be structural, but it can be
it's
used for
not like
insulation.
an exterior thing. Yes.
Right. And so it says, LS said Sublime Systems has done extensive testing on the durability of the product and expects at scale to be competitive with traditional Portland cement. Once the new plant is up and running, she estimated that it could produce 30,000 tons of clean cement per year. For perspective, about 90 million tons of cement are produced in the US alone per year. It's only raised $45 million in funding so far from all of these companies, venture capital backers, Lower Carbon Capital, Engine Ventures, Energy Impact Partners, Prime Impact Fund, Siam Cement Group, and MJC Collective. It has raised $45 million in funding so far. That is not a lot for what is a fundamental science. And the only thing I can think of is there aren't very many barriers to entry. So there's no patent that is in place.
I see, right.
That can't be found an alternative way of doing it to produce the same output. But anything that gets us away from CO2 off-gassing cement. And again, but Portland cement and cement in general, the right formula, it gets harder over time. So it becomes stronger. Only when humans do derpy things with it, like too thin rebar or allowing water to penetrate the cement because it isn't waterproof. it's water resistant, but it's still a slow filter. And then if there's any rust that builds up with the rebar, it can shatter the cement from the inside. It's why you don't drive rebar into the ground and then pour cement, because the rust will creep up from the moisture in the soil and cause the foundation to shatter. There's a lot of science in this. And so if they're using something like chemicals, what is the long-term viability of this? I'm very curious. Very, very curious. All right, let's get on to the last article, and that is over in Continuity Report. And it might make it to the weekend's Continuity Report. We'll see. But Bette Midler calls on Disney to speed up Hocus Pocus 3 and get script finished. Quote,
well, they can only do it faster than the last, or from 1 to 2, right?
I suppose. She has a quote in the title here. Get us while we're still breathing. I mean, God.
Wow. She said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, really. Bette Midler is asking Disney to put the pedal to the metal when it comes to Hocus Pocus 3, while a third movie in the beloved Halloween franchise was officially announced in June 2022. Midler said on the QVC Plus talk show Busy This Week, which I didn't even know was a talk show, via Entertainment Weekly. This is like a turducken of news, that she has yet to see a script, but they're on board. Zach Sharf over at Variety.com put the article together. There's no deck statement, but yeah. So Entertainment Weekly is the source, but it was said on QVC Plus talk show Busy This Week. And other people have been talking about this because it was announced in 2022. And Hocus Pocus 1, although both of them are kind of meh in terms of box office, they became a cult favorite. And I haven't looked at the box office numbers for Hocus Pocus 2, but I do know that it changed. Like that other than the witches, the tone of it changed. The characters changed, and now Hocus Pocus 3 isn't going to have any of the original, I don't think, in either of the two, except for the witches. But apparently it says that's only an issue for the actor, since she's not getting any younger, nor are her longtime co-stars Sarah Jessica Parker and Kathy Najimy.
Ouch. Hocus Pocus 2 was considered a flop because it only made $45 million on a $28 million budget.
Yeah, and so the expectation is to get 3.5 times what the input is, at least based on my recollection. So, of course, the WGA strike impacted Hocus Pocus 3, as pretty much everything has. But still, they need to get their butt moving, because the draw in Hocus Pocus are the three witches, the original three witches. And it'll be fun to watch. You just turn off your brain and watch. So it says we're still in the story phase. We're still working on it. D'Angelo said, we've been working on some ideas. It's been fun to dive back into the world, and we have so many directions in which to go and so many new characters to explore. But that's not what they should really be doing. They need to get this one in the can so that it can be spun, so that when the three witches actually are written off, there's three new witches that can continue this.
Right. I mean, then you could do it indefinitely.
Yeah, theoretically. I mean,
sure.
If House of Harkness can happen, then resurrecting basically a storyline that people have thought, oh God, this isn't even going to happen anymore, or bringing back Mad Max from the desert that it was actually languishing in 14 years after the last movie, and then having two of them in two of them, the second one, the Furiosa, basically is a flop, but that's because it didn't even really have the character that was in Fury Road, and that was 14 years out of alignment with the historical record of Mad Max. It's literally riffing on nothing more than the Mad Max name, with no world building. So that's what's going to happen with this. It languished for a while. They spun up part 2, and then strikes, and then waiting. Somebody should have been writing this, even if it was a passion project. Somebody should have been working on this script during the strike, just so that they could, when they do come back to the table to finish this, they've got something. So, and that's coming from somebody who's sitting here going, I don't want to do any writing. So, Hocus Pocus 2 may be the last one. It says, Hocus Pocus 2 broke records on the Nielsen Top 10 streaming charts when it debuted last year, earning an opening weekend of 2.7 billion minutes watched. That's because it was streaming. Nobody wants to go to a movie. They really don't. I mean, there are going to be people that are paying. The reason why you get record profits in a movie theater nowadays is because it's more expensive. And people are willing to go, at least for a little while. Yeah. The third film is going to be by the same director, by the way.
Well, that's a good sign. Usually when it's stretched out so far across the franchise, they end up swapping out some of the key people, which can be a problem.
And Hocus Pocus 2, at least for me, it's 2 generations, right? So the kids for Hocus Pocus 1 are now watching Hocus Pocus 2. And so you got the adults and their nostalgia, and you have the kids going, what's this all about? Older kids. Because there's actually some commentary in there that you'll have to explain to younger kids.
Well, that was a problem in the original too.
Yeah, teens, they'll just say, oh, shut up. But I don't want to talk about it. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it. I hope that they actually get it done. It's actually one of those, like a guilty pleasure of mine to watch Hocus Pocus 1, now Hocus Pocus 2, and maybe Hocus Pocus 3. We'll see. It's a fun watch. Anyway, that is it for ohmTown. Well, it's not ohmTown Daily News Show anymore. It's Non Sequitur News, and I actually blanked just now.
I've almost said ohmTown Daily several times.
Yeah. So Non Sequitur News consists of a whole bunch of news across the spectrum of ohmTown articles, and there's 50 channels. So if you go over to ohmTown.com, you'll see a different colored menu, and that's because I'm logged in. But once you log in, these icons turn black and white instead of white and black, and you'll be able to swipe things away or save them. You'll be able to reply. You can subscribe to articles. You can mark things as favorite and create lists and send the lists to people of articles that you are interested in. But none of there are submissions, but they're vetted through, the mayor primarily. And then we can incorporate them into the show if they, I guess, rise to the occasion. But there are no original content posts. So essentially all news. That said, we do 7 different podcasts. One, Non Sequitur News, is a daily show that runs at typically 8 p.m. Eastern, but today I decided to run the show an hour early. And then on the weekends, and I have to warn everybody that in a little while, ohmTown is going to have kind of a quasi break for a week, including a weekend, maybe 2. It really depends. But Mayor Watt has mayoral duties to attend to, and has to basically step away. And we're looking for a solution. So if you are interested in hosting or co-hosting the 7 shows, it really is just 1 hour a day. And we can provide all of the content. All you have to do is host. And then on the weekends, there are 7 shows, and either I can do a time machine, or I can end up doing a time machine for all of the shows. Just things would be delayed because I would have to let the time machine cool off a little bit. So anyway, we'll figure it out. We'll get it resolved. But yeah, we're still going to be moving forward, and we won't miss any shows in the temporal sense, but we won't be doing them live for about a week or so. Unfortunately, it's not fun. It's not games. It's mayoral duties that I have to attend to. So at any rate, that is it for today. I am Mayor Watt. That is the visualizer for the Sentient AI from the future.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News. We will see you tomorrow at approximately 8 p.m.
Cheers, everybody. Now I've got to go buy another 700 domains so that I can start selling